boardroom with a quorum of trustees present. This meeting was posted appropriately in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. This evening will be led by students from Lenny Roberts Elementary for the pledge and by Pastor Griffin of Northside Chapel for our invocation. If you all will please stand with us and our students will lead us in the pledge.
And I just would like to say these students are chosen because they had veterans in our program, and so it's very special and an honor for them to be here this evening.
Thank you.
Invocation this evening will be by Pastor Griffin from Northside Chapel.
I am honored to ask to deliver the opening prayer for this meeting. Before I begin, I would like to share the passage of scripture. The passage is taken from the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8, and it's written in the Message translation. Summing it all up, friends, I'd say you'll do best by filling your minds and meditating on things true, things noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious, the best, not the worst, the beautiful, not the ugly, things to praise, things to curse, but into practice what you learned from me. This is Apostle Paul talking. What you heard and saw and realized, do that, and God, who makes everything work together, will work you into his most excellent harmony. You bow your heads, please. Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking for guidance, wisdom, and support as this board begins this meeting. Lord, help them to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow them to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill each member with your grace, Lord God, as they make decisions that might affect the students, the staff, the faculty, and friends of this school district. And continue to remind them that all that they do here this evening, all that they accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater good of the students, faculty, and community. It is in Jesus' name that we ask these things and give you the glory. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. All right. The next thing on our agenda is our celebration of excellence.
This evening, I'm very proud to introduce our celebration of excellence recipients. This comes as part of a, if you're reading any of the news articles, safety is at the forefront of everything we do in education, and rightfully so. And the governor and the legislature have put a lot of things in place to ensure safety and security, and thank goodness for that. We have had several, what we refer to as mini audits, which keeps us on our toes, and that's a good thing. But we also had a major audit where they essentially go through our entire program, facilities, et cetera. And one of the toughest things in an audit is when a, otherwise very friendly staff member sees someone walking down the hall, but they don't recognize, they don't have a badge. And I'll tell you, in my many years of safety audits, that's the toughest indicator that there is recognizing someone that may not belong and say, excuse me, sir, or excuse me, ma'am, how can I help you? Redirecting them to ensure that we have an accounting of anyone who is on our campuses. And so the individuals that we're going to honor tonight and celebrate are individuals who stood out in our audit. And when I say stood out, our campuses, our district, I said it was a full audit. There was a lot of good news. Now those reports are given in closed session because their security and safety matters. But nonetheless, we wanted to be sure because within the audit, we had some individuals that were shown as, I believe the auditors were shining stars in keeping our schools safe. And so I'm going to start with Lenny Roberts. So with Principal Wendell can come down and we'll get her to hand out the certificates here, and I'll call out your name, and you'll be recognized. We can get you all together here in the front, and we'll get a photo. And so for Lenny Roberts, we have 3 individuals, I believe. Yes, 3 individuals. Yolanda Betancourt. Yolanda's here. Jennifer Polk. And Gail Brinkley. We'd love to have you in the photo as well here in just a second. I'll move over to also mention Bay City Junior High School. So if we can get Rosie to come down, Scott's recognized at Bay City Junior High, we have Mary Ann Harris. And finally, I know that Bay City High School, if we can get Principal Mosher Flores to come down, another recipient, not feeling well tonight, will not be able to join us, but we definitely want to give a shout out and recognition to Rachel Longoria, who was recognized.
Come in, because he does some of our morning safety audits. He has a lot of communication, so he's gonna, except for Rachel, we can get our picture today.
Outstanding, thank you.
That's some word. You can know what it is. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you all for. Thank you.
That's what I get for being nosy.
Thank you for those of you that did that and stopped. It's a big deal. It truly is, and I'm thankful that we get to appreciate y'all at this meeting. Because safety is a huge thing within our school district. So thank you all for doing that. We are going to go a little bit out of order. We're going to do good news, and then we're going to move a couple things around so we can have some people that are presenting go ahead and present so they can get back to what they are to their respective homes. But we're going to go next into good news. Does anybody have any good news to share that they've seen in the past?
Once at the veterans celebration at City Homes, and those kids were awesome. It was so good to see them singing and dancing. They had kazoos out, they were doing all the moves and everything. It was so good to have music back in our schools and having that aspect back and brought back to education. Great.
Yeah, I'll just add, I went to as well, and Mrs. Brooks did a phenomenal job putting that together. She really did.
Staying on the veteran thing, I went to the Matador County Veterans, which was supposed to have a parade, but it was canceled, but they honored veterans with breakfast and a program. Our Bay City Junior High engineers put on a synchronized swimming comedy routine, dance through the years, and it was very entertaining and funny, and so, but we appreciate it. They stayed around to help pass out door prizes, and so the junior high was well represented. And then last week, I also got to go into the junior high and present to Mrs. Fawn's class. She teaches principle of business and marketing. And so we have 7th grade students who are learning how to make a business plan, learning about interest and savings and marketing their business. And so it was really neat to kind of get to talk to the kids and present how I made a business plan and started a business of my own. And to see them learning that in 7th grade is awesome.
Great. I'll say for me, I have been at Cherry quite a bit recently, and just seeing the way the kids, specifically at lunchtime, come in, they know what they're doing, they are respectful. I think across the district, I have seen that, just the difference in them and how they're interacting. I think it was evident of what the work that is being done in the classrooms and as leadership on those campuses. So thank y'all for the hours and hours that is being spent into pouring into our kids, as well as, I'm sure somebody's gonna say it, but I will, our football team and all of the amazing things that are happening. And I know we're gonna have a great game Friday night, and just the hours that have been put in to that and an extended season and all of the things that go on with it, cheerleaders, Aristocats band, all of the aspects. So thank y'all. Thank you. It is a true testament to the commitment to our students and our community.
7th and 8th grade went undefeated.
They did.
Got district champion, football, and 7th grade went undefeated, got district champions in volleyball, and 8th grade, I think, got district champions too. I don't know, those can't remember, but for just all of our sports in general are been doing really, really good.
Yes.
I think mine would be just to, we often talk about telling our story. And I know that when I send you guys a newsletter, I'll link in the campus newsletters, or just to really just compliment the staff and the campus newsletters. That it's evident how much time goes into those newsletters to tell your stories. Tell your stories of your campuses, the great things that we're talking about. And that's so important because people need to know. And I see it as a celebration of your staff, your students, and just the positive message that comes from our campuses every single week. And it's a lot, but there's a lot of great news there that you guys are sharing. And I just want you to know that I share it with the board and appreciate your efforts on that, because there are so many wonderful things that are going on that deserve to be chronicled and celebrated. So thank you very much for that.
Anything else? All right, moving along, we do not have any public comments this evening, but we are going to take item D from our items of business up to talk about our approval of the 22-23 auditors report. Hello, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And I do greatly appreciate you guys moving me forward. You didn't have to do that, but I do appreciate it. It's very good, and also to follow the good news, because I'm going to bring good news to you as well today from the audit world, the financial and compliance areas. My name is Kevin Cadenhead. I'm a partner with Cameron, one person on Caden Hill. And I actually have an office here in Bay City now. I work primarily in Bay City, Campo. Our audit team comes out of Lake Jackson. And our audit partner is working on the audit this year. He was here yesterday and met with management to go through a lot of detail of the audit, which we won't go certainly to that level of detail tonight. But they had a very good meeting, more than an hour, maybe 2-hour meeting. So they went into a lot of detail. And he came back today speaking to me about it before coming tonight, just how much he appreciated Dr. McTaslett and Rick and all the work that's been done here. And it's really his first time to go through that audit. He is our school district audit guru. So, he's very well recognized and knowledgeable in the audit world of the school district, so we're happy that he's working with this audit now. So with all that said, you know, the thing that you really need to know about an audit is how do you go, what are the audit findings, what are the things that we need to do to improve. So I'm happy to say that we have no audit findings, nothing that rises to a level that has to be reported as an audit finding, whether it's an internal control issue or a compliance issue with a federal program or some other area of spending. As you know, school district finance today, money comes from a lot of places, but it has a lot of requirements attached to it. And how you can spend it, where, what your timing is on when you can spend it. And we find ourselves in most school districts in Texas now and across the US as well, in a little bit of a unique situation. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you have too much money. There's not too much fund balance, but the situation we're running into is post-COVID, which we all, I was making a joke the other night about it used to be BCISD, now before COVID and after COVID. On the calendar, post-COVID, now, there's a lot of funding that occurs, whether it's from the federal or state or other areas. And so now organizations like school districts are having to figure out the most effective and efficient way to spend that money in a responsible manner. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as we go through here. I've got to point you to a couple of things that are required communication, but it's positive to say that there's no audit findings. Now, we do issue what's called a client advisory letter. You should have a copy of that. And those are the items that we provide to the district that are areas for improvement. And there's expectations that those areas will improve and will continue to improve. So I'm going to go into the report just for a minute to show you some required communication. If you'll go behind the second tab, and it is actually page 11, 12, 13, and 14. This is our auditor's opinion report. This report lets the reader know that the auditor has audited the financial statements. And not too few years ago, this was about a 1.5 page report. Now you can see it's 1, 2, 3, almost 4 pages. What has continued to happen here is a continuous description of who's responsible for that. We, the auditors, have audited, and we're telling the reader that what they're about to read is next. Nothing else you need to know. But there's a lot of information that's also provided in the report, and it provides you with additional information. But this report is what's called a clean auditor's opinion. So there's nothing that's an issue with that, even though it's several pages long. It is standard language for a clean audit opinion. If you go all the way behind the last tab, there are 2 more auditor's reports in back. The first auditor's report is on page 103 and 104. This is a report that's required in the federal award section that lets the reader and the federal awards folks know that you have, whether you have any internal control deficiencies. And this is a clean letter. It basically describes what the deficiency is and said that we don't know. There's no internal control deficiency. The second letter that follows is a report on compliance with federal program. That is also a clean opinion, and it says that there are no compliance issues with the federal programs that were tested. Just a reminder, federal programs are tested on a 3-year rolling schedule unless they're deemed to be high risk by the federal award agency. And so you can see on page 108 which programs were actually audited this year. Continuing to audit some of the what I call the COVID related funds. You can see while we're in this section, you can see on starting on page 112 and 113 all the definition of all the federal programs. A little over $12 million worth. Each one of those are own unique set of requirements for how that money can be spent. Again, no compliance issues. We're going to go back up to the front for a second. I'm going to point you to page 27. Financial information here. you guys don't know, haven't had a chance to read this, but at this point, I'll just point you to a couple of things. So if we go to the bottom of the report, page 27, bottom right-hand corner, it says total fund balance is 21.6 million. So that's the equity. That's basically when we take all of our assets and all of our liabilities. That's what we have as fund balance. Now, we move up that way a little bit. The unassigned fund balance is just under 15.8 million. And then the general fund is saying it's 15.8 million. That represents about 42% of 1 year's general fund expenditure. So we're at right about 5 months in reserve. Okay. And so the question is whether that 5 months is a good reserve or it's not a good reserve. So in the government, if you're below 3 months, then you need to work on building reserve. If you're above 6 months, you probably need to start looking at, what's the long-term plan for use of reserve. If you're a school district, DEA starts looking at you when you get to 5 or 6 months. So what we've seen in school districts throughout Texas for sure is that the general fund balance has continued to increase. And the reason for that is all the funding that's been occurring through post-COVID or during COVID and post-COVID. And so back to what I talked about at the very beginning is the real task at hand right now is how do we put programs and processes and what do we do in terms of utilizing these fund balances. I'm not going to point you to it, but there's also a schedule in the back that has special revenue funds, which are like federal program related funds. And child nutrition is another area where every school district in the state and really in the nation again has had a fund balance that continues to grow in child nutrition. So they continue to fund more and more and more. And they've actually used child nutrition to be a good example where they've used school districts to help distribute federal relief funds to families. Okay, so that's one of the areas where school district has a challenge in looking at how we're going to utilize those funds as we go forward. Okay. So a unique situation to be in, but nevertheless, it's still a task at hand. So plenty of fund balance, which really relates to a very fiscally responsible financial decision to be in as a school district. There's not something that an outside reader would look at your financial statement and say, hey, they got financial issues. You're very much in line with what's going on in the school district in Texas at this point in time. So I know that's kind of cutting pretty quickly through what is a lot of information here, but I really wanted to have you leave here tonight with knowing that the audit went very well. There are some improvement opportunities, as there always are. We do appreciate the job that the finance organization does here, but we also appreciate as we perform our audit, we don't deal all with the finance organization, and everyone that we encounter here in this school district is very willing to accept us in terms of the job that we have to do. And they're very willing to share with us the information that we need. So that's a very good plus. So the best day that ever happens when an auditor shows up is when they leave. Right. So we do appreciate the fact that people take their job seriously as you know they do, and that they provide us as auditors with the information. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have, and we appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, and I think a part of it, and you all obviously work with a lot of school districts, and when you say we're all in a similar situation, I assume that ESSER's going away, and there are people who are looking at fund balances and saying, what can we do? But it is always refreshing to hear when someone else says it besides me, that it's a crunch that's coming to everyone's doorstep, and we kind of started a year ago preparing for what a lot of folks are starting this year, and it is difficult, and I appreciate you sharing that part of it, because it's something that everyone is involved with.
And I think also, Dr. McAdams, one of the things I know that you and Wade talked about yesterday, you are our partner, is that we do have, as your auditor, we do have kind of an understanding of what might be going on in some other districts, maybe best practice, whatever. And certainly we would take some best practice here, share it with someone else, and then we would do the same with you guys. So don't hesitate to bring us into, hey, do you have any other ideas we're probably not wizards in coming up with our own, but we may have heard one over here somewhere that was brilliant, so. We're willing to do that, for sure.
I definitely appreciate the way, like you said, I was the guilty party. I kept them in through overtime and
He loved it.
it was a lot of fun, but even though we're all going through it, it was great exchange. And like you said, he's an absolute expert, and that's what we're depending on as expert information to traverse this most difficult time that every single person in every district is facing. And we're working hard at it, but please pass along my gratitude to Wade for his expertise.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to be made?
Just real quick to make sure we're all on the same page with regard to fund balance, the 15.7 unassigned, does that include the maintenance tax note?
Yes, I think it is.
That's a good one.
That includes the amount that we have not spent until this year that we're in. Finish up Key Ingram, and then like a couple other projects that we have slated with that maintenance tax note. And that's about, that brings it down about one and a half million.
So that's the accounting procedure that nothing out of the ordinary. I just wanted to make note of that was approved by the voters. We're still working on that, and it was included in that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to be made to approve the auditor's report?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 auditor's report.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to his motion?
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. Be careful driving home.
Thank you.
All right, moving now into LSG. Hello, sir. How are you this evening?
How are you today?
Doing well. Good to see you.
It's good to be here.
Glad to have you.
So we would normally start with last month's tracker, but Mary Lynn doesn't have enough to do. She's got a meeting to get to, so we're gonna let her go first and make her report so she can get to a meeting in high school. But just so you know, tonight we're covering goals 4 and 5. Goal 4, of course, has to do with junior high math, 7th grade math, and goal 5 is 9th grade English. And so we have some nice reports to make on the progress that we made, or the beginning of the year reports on these two areas. So we'll start with Mary, and she's got 5.1.
So I have with me tonight, Becky Morrison, our English team leader, and Sierra Bernard, who is our lead English 1 teacher. And they are gonna share with you on loan a purple folder that you do not get to take home with you. The first page, though, is your 1 pager you get to keep. But we wanted to immerse you into the English 1 classroom this evening, so you had an opportunity to see really what's going on. So you have some student work samples that I'm gonna walk you through. And then I'll go over the summary of the 1 pager. But our intention really was to work with our students in writing and reading strategies that we could implement very consistently and efficiently that might actually also carry over into other subject areas on the campus. We have actually been also working with our instructional coach, Jada Townsend, and she's been walking down some things at other grade levels. So the first thing that you find is a writing flipper. Coach Bernard has this strategy that she has shared with her students. They are using it in all of their classes that they are drafting lengthy constructed responses, really trying to have some intention of making students go through the full writing process so that they are brainstorming, they're deconstructing the prompt, they're thinking about how they're drafting, and then also doing some peer review. You have an example of what an expository writing prompt looks like. So probably annotated because they've talked about specific strategies about how to find really what we are supposed to be focused on when we are writing. And this is one of the ones that was released in prior assessments. You also probably have a full set of the individual drafting pieces and paragraphs. This is something that Coach Bernard and Ms. Morrison are modeling with the students. And so you probably also then have a few pictures that we could take you into the classroom of what it looks like when they're drafting, using some of their different color strategies. Also, using the clipper as a writing fixes, students and teacher drafting on the Promethean board so that they are getting the practice in together as a group as a whole, and then also individually and with partners. And I think where we are at this point is we have successfully completed essays. They're not perfect, but we are writing in full length more than just a post on Instagram or Facebook. Ms. Morrison also then added for us some of the reading examples, and one of the things that we have done with intention at Bay City High School to help improve our English language scores is using some sentence stems. So in the second set of things that are paper clipped together, you have some examples of some of the things that Ms. Morrison has put on the desk and given to students and taken away, given to students and taken away. So as needed, put the training wheels back on, when appropriate, take it back off so that we can do some assessments. You also have some of the things that they have been using with relation to deconstructing text and looking at just kind of how I think about what I'm reading. The things that they read aren't always the things that they would be interested in, but the things that are provided to us and chosen by the state. So asking questions like, what surprised me? What did the author think I already knew? What challenged, changed, or confirmed what I knew? And then even as a class, some of the activities that they have done. So you have pictures of something that looks like silent mind mapping that the students did. One day we went into the classroom, Mr. Townsend was with us, we did a full leadership walk, I guess. I remember there were about 6 of us at one time. And it was really hard to keep up, but Ms. Morrison was on her toes really with the students, and there wasn't a single minute that they weren't actively engaged in something related to reading. They were all doing something different. So the differentiated strategies are really appropriate. And then you will see a graphic organizer that's called Races, and that has taken off in all of our grade levels at junior high, high school, and at Tiny Homes for sure, where they are doing constructed responses and answering questions, and they have to write about the text that they've read. But you may also notice that some of them are in Spanish. And so one of the targeted sub-tops is our English language learners. And what you are seeing, some of these are student samples, some of them is teacher examples, but we have taken to really provide with purpose and strategies that help our special education students, as well as the English language learners. So just an opportunity for you to get to see what students are doing and what some of the things that we are actively implementing. And then the very last sheet that you have is if you were a student in one of these teachers' classes, you would also be keeping a growth tracker. And so as a student, you would have recorded what your score was on the pre-assessment, then you would have recorded what you made on the first CBA, and then you would finally, at this point, have also recorded what you made on the second CBA. Some of them aren't fancy, but if you look at the bottom, underneath where all the colors are, there are some comments which students have noticed. What are they seeing about their tracker? And then also, what are their goals? And so I want to share with you on our one-pager that particularly what we have seen as a leadership team, we meet on a monthly basis formally with our data coach from the region, but we also, the PLC meets every week to reflect on either formative or summative data. And what we have seen in the form of the chart that you see here is that last year at this time, last year's 9th graders performed all students at only 40% passive at the meets level. But we have 62% of our freshmen that are already at the meets level. So that is not for you to think maybe we set our LSG goal too low. Just to remind you that we have only assessed 2 of the tested the criteria really that are assessed through STAR. There's 5 and we're only at 2. We have not actually assessed the essay, although we shared with you where we are because that's an ongoing process. But we have shown significant progress, and we did the exact same test as last year. So last year's freshmen performed at that level. This year's freshmen are performing already to exceed. We do have to add some additional things that we're going to test them on. So the black is last year's real STAR test. But we have already exceeded where the full STAR test was, which is the 2 things that they have assessed so far. Some of the things that we are doing over on the right-hand side to specifically really be with intention to make these things happen is some of the progress monitoring measures. We are definitely using CBAs and BMAC. We're tweaking a few things along the way as we've gotten new samples of the question types that are new. But we have been really consistent with maintaining what is it gonna really look like in real start tests, so we're testing them in the same way. In addition to that, the teachers are doing some variations based on their students with exit tickets. We implemented quizzes and then also some aggressive monitoring, and what that really means is while I'm on my feet, I'm jotting down some notes about what I see so that I can formulate some small groups or share with Ms. Townsend when she comes on Wednesdays, which of these students really need some additional support. And we do have her every Wednesday coming in to support the highest need classes. That's not always the lowest students. Ms. Bernard has one section that she supports that's 32 honors students. And so it's really just an extra set of hands because it's really hard to give feedback to freshmen when your classes are that large. In addition to that, like I said, our teams meet on a weekly basis, but we've also been intentional about scheduling the inclusion teachers. Since special education was also one of the areas that we were trying to work on, you'll notice that last year, freshmen at this time were only 7% of special education students. We're meeting that expectation and now we're up to 16%. So we've already more than doubled, but we are working really hard with refining the skills. I did observe our special education teachers specifically working with students themselves, using the academic vocabulary, using the strategies to help students in the same way that the English teacher would have, even though that's not his area of expertise. And then in addition to that, we're doing the academic language piece that you saw is the sample stems for, and we're also working on curriculum guides now. So these two ladies, it's a little backwards because as you might be aware, our elementary campuses did curriculum guides over the summer to prepare for this school year. Our teachers are now looking at the things that we're doing that are working and they're putting it together as they're going. So that by the time we get done at the end of the school year, we'll have official curriculum maps that will place less things on our campus. But they'll be they're very rich in all of the things that they have done because as they're going, they're landing all of these things in there to provide. And really the goal of that is that we take some of the workload off of them throughout the school year, but we also provide a great resource if we to add an additional team member, somebody who might just carry one section of a prep instead of them having to do multiple preps, and that stuff would be provided for them. And we would have that really consistently. So as a result, we have also seen specifically some glows. We have met our goal for implementing the racist strategy across the board. So everybody's doing that. We're doing fidelity checks, it's happening and we're getting really good results with that. We also have the district facilitator support, which we did not have in the past. So we're really happy to have our coaches back in the classroom and supporting us. The weekly PLCs, they're happening on their own. I don't have to go. They're doing that with fidelity, but it's really nice to see the outcomes that are happening as a result of that. So teachers on their own planning time, it's not an extra conference period. It is just their regular conference period. And they're doing the note-taking strategies. So Coach Bernard and I talked specifically about how before they maybe wouldn't even read the passage, much less take notes about it. Ms. Morrison is holding them accountable. They get a grade specifically for the note-taking strategies in addition to how they do on the assessment. And then the teachers and student growth trackers are another highlight. Some areas that we are going to continue to work on, we identified the subpops still not meeting our expectations. We've talked about putting a face to that number. So our teachers before the next data meeting are identifying whether it's in the form of seating charts or on rosters, specific students who are in these groups, English language or American and special education in each of their periods. So that when we talk about that number, we're talking about those 5 kids, and we're going to be really intentional about that piece. In addition, finding and integrating text evidence is still something we're working on. So students assume you already know what they're talking about when they say, oh no, that this, cyberbullying is something that happens as a result of social media. Well, what does cyberbullying look like? And so really pulling them to identify the specific examples from the text or even from real world experience. And then vocabulary and dictionary use. Next time they do an assessment, we're going to put the dictionaries on the desk for them because they're not getting up to go walk and get the dictionary when they need it. And some of the items that they were not successful on in the CBA number 2 was really vocabulary. And you get a dictionary to use during the test, and had they looked it up, it might have been better. So that's all I have really in kind of a nutshell, that we're on track to meet the goal. But we, right now feel really good, but we're not letting that slow our momentum. So if anybody have any questions?
About all the stuff you're doing in English one and the conversations that we have at home about the strategies, I'm like, oh, okay, it's clicking, it's moving, so what y'all are doing is truly working, so thank y'all for the time and the effort and all the things to get the students there.
And I was really in a different class where they were talking about writing an essay, and students were like, well, how come we don't have books when ours with me? You know, it's, and it was not in English class, and so then they're like, oh, good idea, it's been pulled out.
Big words in there that really, bring it home to your success, and that's intentional and purposeful. I don't have any time to set intentional and purposeful.
We have used
You have a game plan, you're following the game plan. Thank you for sharing work samples, and not only congratulations on your success in growth, but congratulations on your effort. Because I think if we teach students that more often, especially with performer students, like any effort is everything. You're putting forth the effort, and that's certainly all the evidence here points towards that. So thank you for the countless hours you guys are putting into this. It's impressive.
So we can have the purple folders back, you can have the first page that was there, but you need to return those with first to students who are utilizing that.
That's great.
And we don't need to have an early college parent night is tonight, it's pizza and pie.
Wonderful.
So, and our senior students who are in the dual theater class are performing segments tonight for the rest of the early college students.
Very fun.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
And Liz is forced to graduate in the second class where I was principal of the.
Oh, how neat.
Students. Nice. So we're happy to be able to, we're kind of taking this in a little different order tonight. So you got to see, we talked about ninth grade English course, right? What drives that is what happens down below in the junior high and even at Tenny Halls. And so we're gonna have Rose talk now about, she has two components, she's got the math and all.
So I can do both at this time, or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so you have two documents actually in your folder. The first one, the teal blue one, this is the junior high one page that we, and the other camps presented their one page information. They had a sheet earlier, I believe it was last month, my myself already did it right now. But I wanted to make sure that y'all had a copy of what we had to, so this is our overall, for our campus action plan, our flows. So far, with reading basically was across the board, 6th grade versus the region, and needs and masters versus the state and masters. 7th grade, we're about our the region, needs and masters, and 8th grade reading versus the region, approaches needs and masters. Math, 7th grade versus the region with masters, and 8th grade versus the region, approaches and needs, and the state approaches and needs. And in our science, with 8th grade versus the region approaches and needs, and versus the state approaches and needs as well. So those are areas that we excelled last year. Our growths, we know in 6th grade math, both with region and state, and our campus star performance. Social studies 8th grade, both region and state campus star performance. And looking at the data, if you look at the data for our social studies, if you look at it just by itself, it might, it looks as very aggressive growth. But compared to the previous years, we have shown growth, so we're going in the right direction. Star performance for the following student groups: Fed, emerging bilinguals, African Americans, and then are also working on attendance in junior high. Our goal percentage of 7th grade students who score meets grade level or above on Star Math will increase from 22% in September to 26% by August of 2024. That was below before we did the LSG. And then the percentage of the following student groups for 7th grade students who score meets grade level or above on Star Math, which are the following increases from September 23 to August 24, which is our SPED, our emerging bilingual grammar. So those are the 3 student groups that we're really focusing on as junior high, and we have been focusing on. So it's still a continuous area for us. Our instruction, this year we've implemented a new electronic hall pass system. So this is to maximize more instructional time. So it doesn't interrupt instruction if they need to go wherever they need to go. It also is a time pass, it also limits the number of passes they have, so they're not going out every single class period to go wherever they need to go. So it is creating more instructional time in the classroom. We've also implemented IXL this year for reinforcement, diagnostic and enrichment. And we have it for math, reading, science, and social studies, and science and social studies have been kind of difficult to find supplemental programs that enrich and also support. So that's been a huge help with us this year. We actually also added two, and that's kind of not on here, but we just did this 2 for our Spanish classes. We have Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. They're working with the pilot program, and it's hard to find resources for those 2 courses as well. So that's helping us with that. Our Region 3 professional development, with special education, emergent bilingual, pass file, and our DI instruction. New teacher support, we have district instructional coaches, our new teacher academy continues support. And we've also implemented this, we have a district new teacher academy, but we have our campus new teacher university. So that's what we have, bi-weekly, or bi-monthly, depending on our need with our new teachers. We focus on certain areas on the campus that we know that we need extra support, or they might be saying, you know, I need help with this. So that's in addition to everything else that we help with. Our interventions, we have a new Panther Time program for accelerated instruction, and it's also for enrichment too. So the students are now able to select which teacher they need to go to, or they feel they need to go to. Teachers can select the kiddos, and you can also divide a priority to a higher or low priority. We also have our monthly PBIS and MDS staff meetings, our exam meetings for both academic and behavior. Our Saturday academies and after school tutorial. Our Saturday academy started off with pass for emergent bilingual students, and we added our 6th grade students 12 too. Those are the highest areas, and then we opened it up to individual students who need additional support as well. We had a new parent liaison, the family engagement person. At the time, this was credit. So we're looking for that person again. So, an additional has the ISL program is for instructional, but it's also for intervention for purposes as well. Our incentives, we have our PBI score and positive referrals, and our 6-week student and staff awards. Our communication, we have our weekly newsletter, and we also got staff newsletter this week, so 2 of them went on Sunday. Our parent nights, and then Facebook and X, formerly Twitter. So this is our campus action plan, so just want to make sure you got a copy of that. For 8th grade, ELAR, so this is full 5, GPM 522. So the overall percent of 8th grade, reading language arts students at sports meets grade level or above on the CBAs will increase from 47% August 23 to 50% by August 24. So we had 2 CBAs up until this point. So the one from the information I have here is on our CBA 2. The third one will be in the beginning of December. And what we did on this for both the math and the ELARs, I'm able to do this as a cohort. So the data that you're seeing here for the baseline is November 23. So these are our current 8th grade students. But the STAR data that you see below for STAR 22, that's them at 7th grade. So these are the same kiddos. So we fell a little short to 47% because all the students said 4 weeks or above is at 34%. Last year for STAR, they're at 47%. So we know we've got some work to do in this particular area. So it's not, these are the same kiddos from last year that you're seeing the data for this year. If you look at our Hispanic, we're at 34%, down from 48. African American, we're last year it started 29, we're 15% down. 2 or more races, we're 40.0, but it also does take a look at the student count too. So if you look at student counts, we had 5 students that fell within that student group. We go 59 to 53, 39 to 25. Our SPED, we know again, that's an area for us that we need to focus on. And same thing with our emergent bilinguals from 37 to 18. So this is an area that we know we need to work on. In regards to my English language arts department, we know with the new writing process, that is a work in progress for my whole team. So they actually have gone to training at the beginning of the year. In mid-October, they went to a 2-day conference down in Fort Francis. They're implementing the race strategy as well. They're putting the newsletter for the parents too, so they can see what's being, what the strategy is being used. It's supposed to be across the board too, so we're working on making sure it's across all the curriculum. And then one of the PD that they went to in October all of our seniors. So what we just done, when people get down to come back and train everybody else, all 6 teachers went, so they all got the same information. And one of the interesting information that they got too is they're using AI now to actually write some of the essays that they're writing. So that's involved with it too, so that's, I mean, big ballgame. So that's why it's so important to make sure that they're using the right strategy and when they're using text evidence that they're looking for particular words from the text. So all teachers are working with that. And we're actually having some of the presenters that they're going to go see come back already in January 8th, which is our PD day there, to start that for the whole campus with a writing process curriculum. Our vertical content teams, our PLCs are weekly. So we have during our Panther time, we're able to have like all 9 of our teachers meet 1 day a week, vertical PLCs. So it takes them and they all meet together. 6th grade still has their regular conference time, but this will allow all 3 grade levels to meet, which we didn't have flexibility or ability to do before. So that's been really helping us out a lot. The Saturday Academy is being going, we started off small, but we're expanding that. And I think that's pretty much what happened with people are part. You guys on, you know. Next, we're going from, this is goal progress measure 4.3. So we're going from 24% to 27 by August of 24. And this was the 3rd CBO. So again, with math, they're testing on what they present or what they're teaching. So it's new information. So by looking at this, we should be at 27% each time we report. Because if they're delivering the instruction, we need to make sure we're at least there. So by the 3rd CBA, we are there. Actually, I think we're at 30% CBA number 2. We're at 27% right now on that 3rd CBA. If you look at STAR 22, again, I'm able to do this with the same group of kids. That's the 5th graders. So they were at 24% at these or above when they tested in 5th grade. And the CBAs now they're at 27%. So we're going in the right direction. If you go down the groups about 26 to 26, from 7 to 21, 80 to 40, 22 to 37, 21 to 22, 3 to 11, and then 30 to 15. So we're making gains in the right direction for 6th grade now. But we've also put a lot of things in place too. Like so we have Saturday Academy, we have our weekly PLC, and I also plan with them 2 times a week in addition to what they learned about them. So, yeah.
Do you think that going back to 5.2,
Yes.
the drop from your STAR 22 to where we currently are, do you think that's just like where do you think that gap is happening? I mean, that's a pretty significant drop across the board.
It is significant on it because I also know that it's CBAs
Right.
versus STAR.
This is the STAR.
This is the 2nd CBA they had, which is about a month ago.
Okay.
So they have their 3rd one coming, but it just was not before for this year. All the ones I've seen, even like the social studies and science, first couple of them have been kind of like, oh, we'll get back into it.
Okay.
We're getting where we need to go.
Okay.
So they went to the conference in mid-October as well. So they came back more energized as a team than I've seen them in the past 5 years. I mean, 6 of them are a solid team, over 4 of them are grade level. They are all on the same page, making sure that they steps of the whole opinion.
Yeah. Okay. That's my question. Thank you. All right, are there any other questions?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can you give us a little bit of detail? I know you touched on it, but these CBAs, they're based on things that they've been taught at the time they take.
The current unit, yes.
So does it go ahead and like cover all the curriculum correctly?
Yeah, the Pell 6 marks will be comprehensive on that. This is basically covering the unit information. With my 6th grade math, we are going in and adding to the 3 questions from the previous unit. Just to make sure that we keep that going, that they, the first CBA, I'll be honest, that was not so good. So we know we don't have time to go back and reteach the entire unit, but there's firing that back in. And then they're also going to kids that they feel for that are not doing well, Saturday school and advanced 9 course.
CBAs don't seem to be so threatening, my kids aren't telling me, oh, no, it's CBA and go get together, and it seems to be a little more natural, because it's just be covering the unit. So maybe if we just rename STAR like CBA 7.
Well-
Not telling them, I think then they'll relax and do better.
One of the things that's different this year that I'm curious to how, they do with is our fall semester exams.
Yeah.
Because that's a CBA plus, you know, like instead of CBA. But there is no makeup to that, there are no text corrections for that, when they take it, that's it, so that's like STAR.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things too, that they're instilling in this moving forward, by basically from now to the next CBA. Will be that, okay, there is, you gotta take it seriously, so being able to CBA do, some of the students rely on the fact that, okay, we'll have the ability to do text corrections. This fall semester one?
Yeah.
No, so I think that'll, be eye-opening for them, to kind of a little shock.
Thank you so much.
You know, one of the things I love about the folks here in BCISD is the teamwork that you experience, you know, at the different schools. They're all working towards the same goal, and they talk together, and they support each other. And I think that's wonderful. So, Anna's gonna come down now, and she's gonna share some things about, 4.1, 4.2, and 5.3.
I would start off with 4.1, the percentage of fourth grade students who score meets or above on a CBA assessment in math will increase from 38% in September of 2023 to 41% by August of 2024. So you will see a huge increase, but then again, just like Ms. Cummings, you know, just going to reiterate that this is a CBA, in comparison to STAR, which is the entire test, of the results that you published. So as we go across our data, we have, in November of 2023, all our populations scored 71% at meets or above, and this is for the math. We have our Hispanic population, 78%. Then we have our African American population with 58%. Then we have our white population with 73%, our economically disadvantaged with 67%, our STEM with 43%, and then our English language learners with 90%. Yes, African American and STEM are our lowest performing areas. But yet again, this is a group that they're constantly targeting with support services, with inclusion, with pushing, put in support, and then pull out for resources as well. Question on the increase, because I'm still very happy about it, I'm very impressed by it, but I have to go back and remind myself that we started, you guys back in April. We had to create a very selective team, but who was going to work, with the standing guys and go to, monitoring needs, and then the needs that we really hard, to have them provide us with a lot of support on and support on. I do some of the RP does for especially does some of the work. We all come together to look at what the teachers are doing, the person or the people who are facing die. So it's her eyes, my eyes, James Townsend's eyes, his eyes, a lot of people's eyes before we say yes. So it's a nice process. Aside from that, our CBAs are in bed, which are facing die every 6 weeks. And so we work with the end in mind. So let's say today is the last day of the 6 weeks, and we're starting the new 6 weeks on Tuesday or Monday, and today's our PD day. So then today we're gonna open the new pacing guide for the second 6 weeks, and how does that test look like? And how does times the pacing guide look like, and so we look at the test first, and based on what we've seen before and how the kids have, shown or reacted to that test without those questions or anything that we need to tweak. Again, it's like Marilyn said, when she presented, we are constantly tweaking. Because we do want to make those questions as rigorous as possible. But we also know that they are very rigorous. And we just need them to match the way it's going to be tested and the way it's going to be filed. So we're constantly vetting, and unpacking the cheats. Do our questions match the way the content needs to be tested for the so we do that every time we're facing that, which is every week. And every time we have a last chart test, which is every 2-3 weeks, to make that it's really we want to be running this part at the end of the year of the day. That's really there. So that. I know that it's only a small piece. So we get to the big picture, like it's a snippet of it. But we track it very intentionally every 3 weeks or every 2 weeks whenever we take the CBA test. So whenever we do see a dip, then stop. What happened, we did not choose, but how did you keep it? And we'll have things like this coming said, a lot of the teachers went to the PD day, so then we have certain teachers that are have for whatever reason, we even go back and practice the teacher is out, this or that, and for kids in the scoring like this, and go all the way down to the other like that.
What is it, how this third CBA matches to 2022's third CBA?
Good question. I actually, had that this morning, and we went over all this, and that was one of my possible questions in looking at all this. And in my notes, I have last year our CBAs we sporadically have teachers like Ms. Davis or Natalie Brock or Jimson, Sampson, who would sporadically use a test in CBA, in GMAC to gather more data based on sub-pops. We did not have CBAs, common CBAs in GMAC that someone was tracking. That's not at all. So when we say this is a viable curriculum equal to all of our teachers and all of our students, the CBA date does not change. So within the pacing guide, we have next days, give or take 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there, because if it's a pace class, then they'll enrich. So they'll get some extra lessons or extra projects, that they'll be working on. But if it's the team with our lower performing kids, then those next days are going to allow them to be able to catch them up within that pacing guide, so that they're ready by the time they take the CBA. But the CBA date does not change, it's locked in.
This is the feedback. Have you had feedback from the teachers and what their thoughts are on how it's going as it's rolling out? Because I know that it's done, but it's still somewhat of a.
They're very happy. So I have a compare and contrast because I have teachers from before, and then I have new teachers we have 3 or 4 teachers that can see Katie. And so this is what they're used to doing. So we get a lot of good feedback, and our teachers that were already here are learning from them as well. And so the teachers that were already here that stayed here, to them, this is like their golden chance, because they didn't have it before. And then the fact that everyone is getting tested with the same test. It's not like, well, you use this one and I use that one, and will you bring me this piece and you bring me that piece? Well, I know I'm giving you everyone is using the same test, the same day at the same hour. We give them 1 day just to make up, and we have 72 hours coming out.
Great.
Question, and maybe this is for you, Tony, or Dr. Mac. I'm having trouble following along with how the CBA is supposed to be a progression from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and it's just the third test of the year. And then it just seems like as you track from grade to grade to grade, that it falls. I guess maybe the material's harder as you go up. And so would it not be more appropriate to average the 3 CBAs and show, because that would be more collective of 3 separate units? Instead of just, I mean, what if the third unit is the easiest unit of the whole year? I don't know if it is or isn't, but. So how do we show that we're going from, you know, our goal is to go from 38 to 41, but we're at 71 on the third one. And that's great, that's awesome. This isn't a criticism to the result that we're seeing. It's just in my mind trying to track growth through the year, because we're gonna come back in February and you're just gonna tell us what the 5th CBA is or whatever number we're on at that time.
I'll share a little bit on that, if I may. Getting away from high stakes testing, I think, it's ridiculous. It's comical to give the release test on which they have it. So as we go, you're able to identify the hot spots for, and then you, when we have pressure, spiraling your curriculum, they get roasted. So what the difference is, no, you're not going to really have a score this comparables to start, because that's not the way you should. That's not the way students learn. The way students learn is it should be a timeline test based on the curriculum that they just received. Then identify those pieces that you want to spiral back and as you go. But yeah, it will never be. You'll have those units. I can tell you, biology, DNA replication is horrific, right? Maybe not here, but I'm saying as a former teacher, we knew where the hot spot in the curriculum was. So we heard terms of intentional and purposeful. So that is going to help us identify the hot spots in the curriculum. Now that we have the basic guides, we know that there's no holes in the curriculum, but there's still going to be hot spots. And so those numbers will probably vary as we go, and it will just identify when we get, and I know you already have intervention going, but springtime intervention is another level, and you will identify those hot spots and circle back and try to pick those up as you go in preparation for the high stakes. And again, that's only one opinion on that, open to everyone's opinion on CBAs, but it is best practices is to test over the curriculum you just completed. One of the things we're looking at the secondary level is to exams. So it's semester, even though it's a CBA, it's cumulative to go back and pick up some of the spiral concepts and see how we're doing in semester. Do the same thing in the spring, so it'll give you a little bit more of a cumulative look, if you will, versus not just a straight answer.
So what I don't want to do is say that we started the year at 71, even though we didn't start the year at 71, we're on the third one, and then they get to the hard one, and you come back next time and report a 40, which is still the goal, but then it looks like we dropped 30 and we didn't. We just had a hard, and so that's when I was like, maybe average the 3 or even a separate one that just shows that we did all. Yeah.
We could definitely calculate that in learning objectives and how it's in that we can actually manipulate the data and provide it. Yeah, but and absolutely see what you're saying is a cumulative piece, which kind of runs counter to best practices in teaching and learning. But nonetheless, all of those CBAs are going to feed back into, unfortunately, when it's all over.
Yeah.
Here's the high stakes test.
And as the high stakes test, is it weighted? I mean, if you get a certain percentage from each of the CBAs essentially, or some weighted more than others, or is it equal?
And so when you get that data and you look at it typically, and Forward is a program that has done this in the past, where you look for your hotspots annually, where those hotspots are, the same thing, it identifies them, and it also gives you a frequency chart. How many times is this type of question asked? And that's where high stakes testing gets into the disgusting part that it is. It's like now we're playing a game of trying to predict what's going to be in there, what weight is it going to have, and oh, by the way, we're going to give it a scale score so that it's not even a percentage, it's a scale. So they're even going to change the value of each question. So I don't mean to go on a rant about high stakes testing, but One of the reasons, and it's in the news right now, there's a lawsuit on high stakes testing. Because this whole idea of coming to school districts after everything's said and done, and it's all over with, and saying, here's how you did it, it's not how you do it. You've heard the reference of beginning with the end in mind. What are we responsible for? And how can we strategically, and by the way, that's a great practice, because I've seen it the other way, where people don't trust teachers and they hide the CBA from the teacher and say, oh, you're just gonna be dishonest, and you're not. No, we need to begin with the end in mind, and that's exactly what we never happens with the state assessment. There's a concept that you hit heavily that it's not gonna be covered, and then you look at your frequency chart, it's covered once every 3 years. So that has been really a big part of, and I think a reason for some of the school districts joining this lawsuit is like, tell us what you need from us, how about that? And then we'll develop intentionality in how we approach that, and we'll be able to have those measures. But you're absolutely right, it is random to say the least. And anyone would chime in, and again, I was much more closer to it in my previous assignment, but I doubt the state has changed just a whole lot on frequency charts and when they ask the question, scale scores, that's still up in the air, really, to a certain extent, every year. So it is a mystery. And that's really unfortunate, because everyone would do a better job. And we're all in the same system. However, you're right. It's difficult to match those up by concept and to know the type of question. Some readers will not see that question.
The percentage of fifth grade students who score meets or above on a curriculum based assessment will increase from 24% in September 2022 to 27% by August 2024. We look at our data across, we have all at 52%, Hispanic at 55%, African American at 22%, white at 58%, economic at 43%. Instead, 52%, and English language members at 64%. 5.3, the overall percent, the fifth grade reading language arts students at 4 meets, grade level or above on the curriculum-based assessment will increase from 36% to 39%. We data across, we currently have all at 51%, Hispanic at 50%, white at 69%, economically disadvantaged at 45%, SPED at 21%, African American at 35%, and English language learners at 50%. We have started our Saturday academies. We will have our 4th Saturday academy on December 2nd. We will start our after school tutorials and the first week of February after our one and only benchmark. And then we will also resume Saturday tutorials together with after school after benchmark as well in February. Our Saturday academy also has telepass embedded in it. For the bilingual teachers, and all of this is an amazing teacher, and this in that post the telepass, and for bilingual kids as well.
What is your success rate for getting kids to Saturday academies?
100 kids.
Go Saturday. And are parents dropping them?
Yes.
Okay.
You're having 100 kids show up, or you have 100%?
100 kids show.
Okay.
Are kids invited and said you need to, okay.
They are invited based on how they scored. So we have to differentiate how they scored in the CBA. If they are bilingual, so income, or if they have been identified as a tier 2 student under the grade.
You have 100 show up, how many are invited? Good. It's really good.
Show up every Saturday. And I don't know that that's been fine.
So we are inviting 130 students and 100 are showing.
And the reason I asked that question because, Kelly May wasn't invited, she invited herself. I mean, it's so cheap. And then we go, she goes, and she loves it, and that's a plus. And I'm trying to stay on the ground and back to, I think that was James' question. Is it any way that y'all, like I said, the two CBAs that you're doing, it may not be a tracking thing on this particular thing. But could it possibly done so that you can see the difference, because I think we have more growth than what we've seen on here. Yes, very well.
And along those lines, please don't be part of work on that.
I will.
Do not do hard work because, you know where I'm gonna go with this. Data integration is my passion, and so these CBAs are entered in the Skyward or not, DMAC only.
DMAC only.
And we can export that. To an Excel.
Sure.
No, I know the answer there because you sent it to me, right? I mean, you have, David has pulled that for me. And so please do not manually crunch those numbers, don't do it.
So we only manually crunch for our English language learners data, because we have a good survey on English language learners, it's working and pull it from the map. But if they really have helped us identify those, and then we are our registrar. Pretty much in that we have about 8 kids, but they were surrounded. The rest,
And I think next year it will be a little bit better too, because you would have had a whole year of CBA data. And so it would be very easy for them to say, you know, for the first CBA last year, this is what they, where we were at. So you can see, you know, improvement. Last year, they were doing maps and it was not really correlating to what was being taught. And so once we get through this first year, we'll have some historical data, and I think that'll be helpful too.
Yes. Then you just click on 20, 23, 24, 24, 25, and it'll pull both.
And so that helps you evaluate the program itself, you know.
Yeah, that's what LSG is all about. It's about program improvement. We're not really measuring students' growth from year to year. They do that in the school. Oh, yeah, all the time. But what you're trying to do as a board is make sure that the early childhood program is improved, that the 7th grade math program is improved, that the 9th grade English program is improved. And so that data you put together is helpful. I really appreciate Chris's comment, because you know, once you get that historical data, now you're going to be able to compare, to your point, and see if we're better this year than we were last year. Because you're going to be testing over the same things with the curriculum.
I would never really know that one though, because they're constantly moving forward. So let's see, the next year isn't going to be the same.
Well, I believe we're going to be, you know, what do you think about that? With the way the curriculum is being put together.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Mr. Townsend and I just, the level of conversation that's going on with this curriculum development, he came in with an amazing training today, and we just sat together unplanned, which was, we'll bring all of y'all into the conversation. We're not, you know, we're not putting the cart in front of the horse, but I mean, Mr. Townsend just comes in with this passion about, hey, listen, this is how the curriculum's being developed. There's a whole nother set of resources, and then right away I said, can we integrate this with our practice of the pacing benefits? Says absolutely. So yes, this is going to evolve, and I can tell you it will never move as fast as you want, but the last thing you want to do is go on that crash diet to have a healthier lifestyle. You want to change your choices, you want to change your lifestyle, get it guaranteed by curriculum. build a CPA over time. Infuse more and more resources into that curriculum. And the next thing you know, it is 5 years down the road and new teachers are coming in saying, just expecting it. And the teachers that were there said, oh, we didn't always have this. And it's important that they take ownership of this curriculum. And the state is never going to stop moving the goal, never going to stop moving the target. And what I said earlier, not only do they move the target, they move the scale score, which is a hidden formula that you cannot ration, you can't figure it out. They change it every single year. They give different weights to different questions. And state accountability it is not a measure of learning, it's a competition. And you've got to beat the cut point. And that cut point is nebulous. You'll never know what it is. It changes every year. And so that's unfortunate, but we know we're doing what's best for kids. I mean, that's a guaranteed and viable curriculum that's assessed throughout the school year. And we'll bring it to y'all to say, on these same concepts year to year, how are we doing? Year to year, how are we doing on the actual content versus this game of shuffling the deck with questions, with scale scores and goals. But you're exactly right. You change every year. It will 100% change.
Well, one thing about it, the teams are the same for everybody, right? We're all the same game, statewide. So what we really want to do is kind of like compare how we're doing compared to the state. As compared to last year, right before the C growth. And I just like to ask Donna, because she's been in this job now for what, a little over about a year?
Oh, it's on, 10 months.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about the progress of the faculty and kids, like this year compared to last year? Because you got a good running start this year. Last year, you just hit it well. So how does it feel now getting these CBAs together as compared to?
It feels. But I have given a purpose everything, and I'm always finding ahead. So I find myself having a lot of conversations. So at this time, the next year, this is what we're going to be doing because we've learned from ABC and XYZ, which have been great experiences. And so at this time next year, we've learned this, so then we're going to change our expectation to this over here, which is already higher, because we already learned how to get to this expectation here. So it's just like I'm constantly hiring on my bars and something to catch myself, and take a step back because I think it's really hard sometimes by myself and small. But it's a great experience. I don't know. So much.
So, we go back to, okay, if we just go back to the top of the agenda, we were going to cover the time factor from last month. And so when we look at that, the good news is you spent 80.17% of the meeting last month on student outcomes, which is outstanding. Go up to the top left and you can see that about 45 of your 97 minutes that were spent on student outcomes were spent discussing outcome and monitoring reports in accordance with the monitoring calendar. We spent about 17 minutes on discussing and voting on constraint monitoring reports. And then we did a board evaluation, which took about 35 minutes. So that was a total of 97 minutes that was spent on 121 minutes, I'm sorry, spent on student outcomes. So 80.17% of the meeting was spent on student outcomes. We had 5 trustees present, 2 absent, so that was a 71.43% attendance rate. You had 7 consent agenda items, and nothing was pulled. You only had 1 other agenda item that required discussion. And so that's really good. And, all of our goals and goal progress measures were online, of course, those beginning of your reports, that's right as well. One thing you may notice in your monitoring report that I gave you, is that we have goal, annual targets for the goal progress measure. And so one of the items that I wanted to get to tonight, but we're not quite there yet, is to have you review and approve those annual targets. And I think from some of the discussion you've seen tonight about the review of the goal progress measure, you can see what they're shooting for is to show improvement from year to year, even in the goal progress measure. And when I went through a review with PTA last spring, this is one of the areas they said we were deficient as a group of coaches from Region 3 in not having annual targets for goal progress. So we're working on that. We're going to have a planning meeting in December for the January meeting. And I'm going to try to get those goal progress measure annual targets developed completely and ready for you to review and present to you before we do this for them. Because it will help you with your evaluation, the scoring of the plan. I will tell you that we were late. I want to apologize for that. I didn't get some of the data to you this time. It was completely outside of our control. The only thing we could have done is had the principal stay until 4 in the morning and calculate everything. So I said that's ridiculous, and I knew you wouldn't want that. And so once they were able to generate that data, we got it to you. I think Rose emailed me Friday at about 6 o'clock, and I put my computer up and sent it to Danielle at that time. So you probably got it on that morning. Anyway, we got it to you as quickly as we could. And that's the best you can do this time. Hopefully we did that, better in the future. One thing you'll notice in your folder, there was one other document that's in there, and it's called the AE local policy. This is a board policy that has been updated. This year with the new 5-year period, it was set the new 5-year goals, goal progress measures, constraints. But we updated those. And so the posters that you have on the wall, they've been updated as well. So the ones for constraints and goals, those can be replaced with these documents. So somebody can pull those down and put them up, that'll be good. And we went ahead and updated the goals and the constraints in your AE local policy. So also I noticed on your website that we have a different vision and mission than we did a few years ago when we first started. So I imported those in here from the website as well. So if you have had time to review this and feel comfortable approving it tonight, and Dr. Mack can forward it on to Tassie, and it will give you your policy. So that was the other thing that we needed to cover tonight. And
As far as that goes, I believe this is a first.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we need 2 readings, correct?
okay,
Yeah,
it's
our
ordinary policies.
To be our first reading.
Very good. I understand that you have
What was that?
Just to make a sentence or something.
No, it's not. We'll have to do it just a second, we'll leave it.
so I understand that you have an event plan for community engagement. And what is the date of that? 28th. Okay. I'm gonna have to check my calendar. I'm hoping that I can be here. You guys are gonna have can you kind of describe the event to me? How it's gonna go?
Sure. It started tonight. Actually, it started Thursday that Felix came. Monday. So we've done a couple of things. It's the shirts. We talked sometime back about 2 week vacation. That is good. That on the evaluation. With that piece, it was 2-way communication. And so we wanted to engage families where they are, and nowadays that can be virtually. And so we each took a goal and or an exclamation point and made videos that are going to be by our Jinx studio. Our own students are editing and going to be processing this video. We're going to cover the goals. We're going to present the goals electronically, provide a link at the bottom, imagine this on a web page. So we're gonna give the video outlining, but then we're gonna solicit two-way communication, say, drop us a question, send us something. We're gonna put an FAQ in that same website, and in that FAQ, we're gonna answer and clarify those questions. But then the culminating activity, and I believe Joe, your video, we're also inviting you to the virtual meeting, which is on the 28th. And we will have 3 board members there, and because of the quorum. And then we will cover some information, but again, then open it up to dialogue, and we've got some prizes. We're gonna do some virtual type of awarding, and they can come out and pick up their swag from us. But yeah, I don't know if
That'll be more of a hybrid than this one, it's not just virtual, it's in person and virtual, right?
That's fantastic. And, you know, I hope that you guys would, you know, if we created some space at the May school board conference, that maybe you could put together the results of some of these activities you've been doing and share that with other board members around the region. And I haven't seen anything like that. And that sounds like.
and I know we've got some principles out, but really for the whole team, the leadership team, the principals love the idea of anything y'all can think of to make it a little competitive for participants. Obviously, we're gonna have some drawings in there, and may have to put something in the chat so we can capture names, et cetera, of the drawings, but anything, again, I know you got a lot on your plate, but nonetheless, I know you're getting your newsletters out. Your families are tithing with what you say more than anybody. And maybe they can come in and learn more about all the work that you guys are doing. It's certainly going to be relevant to everyone throughout the district there, the campus. So just be thinking about any incentive type things that we want it, like you're saying. We're going to measure, you know that, and we're going to hope to really make it successful. And that's all the front end loading. You know, really trying to just think of everything to get our families. We're going to keep it to less than an hour because we'll lose our audience. And so this first one will be less than an hour. People have a lot going on. They do. And these are the same folks that got little kids and carting them off to all these different activities that are going on. So we're going to be respectful of the time, convenient in that is that you can be anywhere and join us. And so
That's on the 28th. Okay, excellent. And there's been some other activities around the region that you'd like to hear about. I can tell you one that I thought was outstanding. I attended last week up the road board. They put together what they call Taxpayer Tuesday. And so one Tuesday a month at a different school each month, they have community time. And so all the administrators are there. And the principal does a presentation about what their goals are for the campus, what their instructional methods are. And the principal's telling the people in the community that are attending what to look for when they get ready to do walkthroughs. Intentional small group talk, exit tickets, things like that, that they've been trying to get the teachers to adapt as part of their regular routine. And then they divide it into groups of like 4 or 5, went out in some classrooms and actually did observations. And we got to attend that. Lisa Moy and I did, and it was really amazing to see that. And then we went back and had lunch together, and they did kind of a debrief. And then at some of the comments from the public, the people from the public that were there was probably maybe 20 people from the camp. They were really outstanding. They were like, man, I came here really critical, and I'm leaving here with a totally different mindset. You know? And so it was an amazing thing. We've also seen like fall festival, the board members went in, the little law school kind of movie. They had it all out in the parking lot. And the board members took like a 2-page handout and just walked out in the crowd and just started engaging people in conversations about what they're doing for start efforts, with their vision and goals, encouraging them to come to board meetings and see what's going on. And then they did something very similar that they sat at the table and did it. So I really appreciate the intentionality that's going on with these things, and what you're doing is so unique. Well, on the 28th, I just can't wait to see it. It's going to be fantastic. So you guys are leaders, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and my work with you, and this team here too. The teachers are doing an outstanding job. getting the kids ready for life. So, thank you very much.
Right, so we do need to, approve the LSG report tonight. And then, since this is his first reading, we'll bring it back in January to approve. We don't have to do that, Daniel?
We're gonna look at that.
Oh, okay, okay. Perfect. So is there a motion to be made to approve the LSG for this evening? To approve their report. All right, is there a second to the motion?
Okay.
All right, any other questions, comments about LSG? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, next is reports, the superintendent report from Dr. Rick.
Okay, so, I give you all a printout, it's a lot. The neat thing about this is you won't have to read slide by slide. I have picked out some highlights from each of the slides to cover, but you, as you should, you're gonna hear things that you just heard. Because that's what we're doing, we're being consistent. And so, as part of the evaluation process, and Tony, welcome to chime in at any point, this is the state of the district report we did last year. I'll make notes of things that have changed since last year's report. I'll come back to you in January with a proposed action plan, and then we'll have a full evaluation there. All right, I'll start with just instructional management, and that's a lot of what you heard. But I picked a few highlights of things that you heard, and one of the things we've added this year is the principal coaching piece. And so I'm glad that Rosie mentioned her process for ensuring that students are in classrooms and engaged in learning. And that was, I remember that as being one of our coaching sessions where we shared, as well as IXL. And so once per month, I'm scheduled to meet with each of the principals, Mr. Pounder and I, and essentially the way the coaching model works is it's pretty much what would you like to talk about? Is there something, a dilemma? You may not need an answer from us, you may not need it, but we're here to talk through the problem and not just get an answer, not be directed. It's like, what have you thought about? You know, what are you working on? What prior experience may lead into this one? So that's something new. Also, there's been additional, you've heard terms like PLCs and IoTs and things like that, those acronyms being thrown around, but there is additional monthly curriculum meetings happening this year. And I think hopefully a lot of what you heard today was a lot of intentionality and a lot of strategy. Saturdays, after time, the effort is there, and this thing is coming together nicely. But again, I'm glad to hear those specific strategies. Also, we met with the curriculum committee, and each campus got to present their one-pager on their action plan. So again, back to intentional and purposeful. Nothing is just hoping that it turns out. It's putting these strategies together. So that's all I had on the first slide. I refer to it as the LSG slide, because that's pretty much what it is on the next slide, still on instructional management. Why these topics? Why these headers? Why? Remember, these are the headers for the evaluation tool. One of the things we talked about in the evaluation process we adopted last year was, how are we evaluating? Where are we seeing the evidence? You know, we needed to match up with the tools. So that's these major sections. Just want to remind you all of EH Local. That has been approved this year. That was a policy that we added, and that outlines what I've been referring to as a comprehensive curriculum management plan. So what levels we talked about today with resources, we talked about curriculum development, and a few steps that we're going in expanding that to the secondary level this year. That's ongoing. It's looking really good. I put a star by the third bullet there, growth, develop career and technical education plan. Of course, between now and February, you will give me marching orders on where you'd like for me to focus. I just say I'm very interested in that in some capacity. Career to technical education is huge. It's all of secondary now, pretty much, and it is all about creating those life-ready graduates we talked about. And so, just making sure we're maximizing our funding. You may recall some of the stuff I put in a couple of newsletters about, and so I won't belabor it, about how important CTE is and to CCMR and all these acronyms for college career and military readiness and beginning with the end in mind. Learned some great things. I love that we have our secondary principals sitting at the same table talking about curriculum alignment and CTE. It was a great discussion. Again, purposeful there. I'll go to Roman numeral 2, student services management. Couple of things, of course, and this was in the goals that you gave me of the discipline management program. And so Dr. Bronco's here, I'm not going to call on her, but she is hard at work at developing the Bay City ISD behavior framework. And what's the difference? The difference is we're not about programs. We're not about, well, this program says, here's how you address behavior in Bay City and in New Jersey. It's not the same. Not only is it not the same in here in New Jersey, it's not the same at Cherry Elementary and the high school. And so Dr. Bronco is leading that discussion. We've got a meeting, big meeting number 2 coming up soon.
It was today.
It was today, very soon. As in the past, so quick it was today. So nonetheless, that is going on. Thank you for your hard work and thank you for the buy-in that that's generating with the stakeholders. And I've seen you really pushing that, like, hey, this is a committee thing. We've got this going. And again, it's not about a program. It's about the interventions that work for those teachers. Part of that I highlighted as a strength, where you see middle bullet on overseas discipline management program is the non-negotiables. Remember, and at least a couple of you, I've sat with you and showed you what that looks like. So from my desk, I literally have an online document where I can take a peek at the non-negotiables. What are the non-negotiables? If we just gather here together and say behavior's out of control, no, it's not. You have to have the data supporting what exactly is going on. And I was sitting with one of the principals recently, and we went through every teacher, and it was probably in, I'd say when we went through less than 10 minutes, just click across those classrooms and seeing the parent context. Behavior is not going to improve without parent contact, especially on the level 1 behavior. We're not gonna tolerate the elevated aggressive type behaviors. But when it's the type of behavior refuse to do work, those sorts of things, we've got to have the principal in there. And so with one of the principals, I literally just went to every teacher, and it was that quick. And as she clicked on it, it was like, okay, this teacher's having trouble with 2 kids, 3 kids, no kids, 1 kid, and it was that fast. And so as a principal, I imagine how to use that tool, and certainly as a vice principal to say, you know, little Johnny's got 27 entries here. That's the only thing she's got in there. That's it. It's little Johnny. So let's work on little Johnny, because that teacher, you're going to be incredibly frustrated. And the data is telling us this is not behavior's a problem. There's something not working with little Johnny. And being purposeful about that really helps us. The other non-negotiables are things like this. We think of them being basic, but they're huge to the culture of discipline. You have a seating chart. You get kids to walk in, you probably remember in high school yourself. You walk into high school, no seating chart, sit wherever you want. You're like, oh, this is a cool teacher, right? And so when you have that structure, it helps a whole lot. But there are a number of look-fors when they enter the room that the learning objective is posted. That should be up there. Some sort of rule or social contract should be there. If we don't outline the expectations, they're very young students, and we're going to be flipping a Groundhog Day over and over again because they don't know the expectations. And there are many, many more that we could do a presentation on, and would love to, by the way, as far as maybe even in a newsletter, I can put some of the statistics if I haven't yet. I've got one in mind. I can show you about what's going on. That substitute folder. You need substitute teachers. If you don't have a good plan for the substitute teacher, discipline is going to erode. You're going to lose your substitute teacher. So that's just a few examples of what we're referring to as the non-negotiables, and those are the data pieces that we need. Tony mentioned a few of them when he was up there. Fundamental 5 elements of the quality lesson. The most important ones out of that 5 is what is referred to as the power zone. The power zone means that you're not at your desk. You're out amongst the students, looking over shoulders, checking for misconceptions, clarifying misconceptions. You've got that one student who is never going to be in trouble. He sits in the back of the room and is super quiet and not learning a thing. And so our zone instruction is critical, but I'm just so grateful for the principals to join in this endeavor of collecting the things that matter and being able to better diagnose what's going on and stay away from generalized statements of what we think may be going on to more of what actually is happening. Very excited and look forward to sharing with you that behavior framework that's coming. Working hard on the JJAEP piece as well. That has probably been the hardest part for me. I can't get an answer. But Danielle's helped me on that, and we're going to work with the state. Remember, when we talk about the juvenile justice system and a JJAEP, that's not an ugly thing. If you don't have one, you have to expel kids to the street, and we're not about that. And so we're looking to be innovative and creative. We've learned a lot from COVID about online instruction, and I assure you, I'm going to engage the state on how we can provide them with instruction efficiently that doesn't cost an excessive amount of students graduating. And our high school team has been instrumental in getting students across the stage, and it's been very impressive. And so that was a former goal, and when I come back to you in January, I'll share some very specific information, because that was a goal from last year. Moving over Roman numeral 3, staff development and professional growth. We start planning professional development, and I'm wrong because Mr. Townsend has already sent it out for next year, haven't you? So he has already started on the professional development plan for next year. I used to always say, we start the new year, we start the next year. And I know that he's already got that out there. And so that's a clear strength that we're very purposeful in our professional development planning, and we're proactive. My goal, I have a star. If you look at the middle bullet under growth, I would love for us to develop a local Bay City ISD staff development conference. I've done this before, and it's an all-day celebration. Yes, what goes on? What should go on? First of all, you got your teachers who are so talented, and you open up the proposals, and you say, so we will start this process soon. Open it up for proposals to present at the Bay City ISD Professional Development Conference. And we treat it just like a conference, lots of food, lots of calories. I love it. Prize drawings, they will hear me the most on that, because I want the teachers to enjoy the day. And what we would be looking at in that professional conference is an opportunity for the whole district to train together, hopefully under one roof, probably the high school. But I can tell you it is special, and to see all of our teachers in the district learning together, a conceptual understanding of curriculum maps, where an elementary teacher is sitting there and they've already developed the maps and are able to turn to a junior high teacher and say, we've done this already, and let me tell you how it works. I think that would be a huge celebration point. I would love to have our industry partners join us in that endeavor, be a part of the community of learning. And again, I'll get back to you on this. What we've done in the past is any teacher who presents gets a shirt, get a presenter shirt. And so then we take a group picture, and then it becomes a culture. Those who didn't present with the next year, I give a shirt, presenters got shirts. We had students present historically, so basically it's just going to knock the top off that. It's going to be way above and beyond anything we've ever seen. So I'm excited for that. I do want to mention real quick on, I was just going to pick that one area, but on staff development, very important for you to know that, first of all, I was voluntarily still in the TASA coaching, love that. Working with Dr. Brian Woods on that piece, working with Tony as well on the LSG coaching, that never goes away. It's awesome to have that resource. The big one for me though, and some of them are in the room, is the TASBO budget cohort. And so basically what that is a year-long process on how to build a budget, every single piece of it, from teams data to staffing ratios, all that good stuff. And we've got several, who's already in it, raise your hand during it this year. Dr. Crono's also in it. But I'm excited for them, and I'm technically not in it, but I just want to be able to you guys, it's all. But it's very purposeful, and I appreciate all of us around the table, all those folks and more that raise their hand around the table, talking budget, talking everything about developing a budget, and I think it's special, and I look forward to, I've been through the process before, and I think they're gonna enjoy the entire process, and they'll be midwinter, correct? Midwinter will be a part of that at the conference, they're part of the Tazewell Budget Board. So that is a huge opportunity. And I appreciate everyone going the extra mile for that. Administration and management, just picked out right there in the middle, just annual reviews of effectiveness, efficiency, ongoing, and examples of communications, federal programs, state comp ed, parent liaison. So what does all that mean? That means that we're purposeful in ensuring our ADAs, we're purposeful in our state comp ed expenditures. You heard about the audits coming through clean. It's just that whole piece of being purposeful in the administration and management practices that we use. We have a chain of supervision that is just critical to us, and chain of communication so that we can address problems at the primary level. Roman numeral 5. Big one for us. It was one of the major goals that y'all assigned for me last year, and that was budget. And we've just been talking a lot about budget, but we also said buildings as well. And so we'll get into that in the next slide, but we'll kind of polish things off. The strengths are in the last area there. I had to mention the recent financial audit reports have been great. They've been clean. The big one that you heard tonight, that I'm sure deserved a lot more discussion, is the ESSER audits that we went through, and I know Elizabeth was a big part of that. And that is a monster. They're really scrutinizing that, and that audit has also come clean. And there's literally so much good news that I have not put it all in a newsletter. We're also evaluated for risk, and our level of risk has dropped along with these clean audits, along with the work of ESSER. And so I'll put that in the newsletter so you can read a little bit about how our rating on risk also has improved. So it's a lot of hard work, and I'm proud of everybody in the room who's done that, because it is not by an accident. The last two near and dear to my heart there, the growth piece, frequency of analysis of the summary of finance. And so the summary of finance essentially is all the buckets of money that some of you heard me talk about. We're so intentional, and Vince is here, and he's the creator of this. Vince created a spreadsheet. He's an Excel guy, very near and dear to my heart. He's also just about 50 times better than I am at it. And we have a monthly budget meeting with that same group of folks, and Vince covers, here's where we are on our summary of finance expenditures, being very purposeful. You say, well, what's wrong with that? If you do not spend your allotments within the summary of finance, eventually they will take that money away. So we have to be, again, purposeful in that. And so thank you, Vince, for creating that document to where every meeting he's going to spit around his computer and show us where we are on expenditures per allotment. And that was something we needed to do, and he got that done very quickly. Now more on the operations side of it and facilities. You also gave me some goals on that, and I checked off. Well, tonight we had the long-range technology plan. We had transportation last go round, and I did mention to some of you in casual conversation that we have Scott has launched the facilities planning assessment, and they were here in district. Was it yesterday, Scott, that they were here already going around and assessing the use of our committees, whether it's budget or facilities. We talked about how we're going to attack some of the things we have, and you know, the monies that we have available for facilities. So we're gonna pump the brakes on that and come back to you with this facilities assessment with some recommendations. I know we've said a whole lot of things. It's been a great brainstorming session on what to do with the funding and to attack first, but Scott invited me to sit in on the launch to this. We're going to get some great information, very informed, data-driven decision making, so that we can see what exactly we want to attack first when it comes to facilities. I'll move on to Roman numeral 6, personnel management. Recruitment. I just had to highlight that one just because you guys know we had a great start to the year. compared to last year. Just the whole approach to recruiting, it has been absolutely, I would describe it as relentless. Many of our principals, our directors, have been on recruiting trips, and appreciate their efforts. It's making a difference. And so under growth, right under there, first major bullet, second sub bullet on continue to refine staffing formulas. If I haven't said this to you in passing in conversation, I've lost count of the number of trainings we've gone from people who are starting this year, who didn't start last year and are starting this year on tackling ESSER or going away. The recipe that we started has been fun when it came to staffing formulas, class sizes, everything. And so the difference is we started a year early. And so I'm very proud of that. It's a lot of hard work yet to do with ESSER going away. But again, very purposeful, very intentional, and the whole team joining in that endeavor. Number 7, board relations. So under board relations, I listed there under the first major bullet, weekly newsletters, text messages, phone calls, individuals, meetings as requested. I want you to know I really enjoy that very, very, very much. And I know you have lives. So I apologize for the late night text messages sometimes on if I think you need to know about it, I'm just going to send it. And so and then the growth on that is I always want to make that better. One of the things I think Priscilla had shared with me was the idea on at the bottom having that little place just in case you want to submit a question there. Looks so patient with me. It's like I haven't heard back on my question, and so part of my growth is to keep an eye on that thing. But nonetheless, very excited about the board relations aspect. I think we're very transparent, and especially when we talk about LSG, we put everything out here, and they're very tough conversations, but they're the conversations that we need to be having. One more slide on board relations. Again, I know there's a lot there on newsletters, but I also want you to be aware of, and again, I think Priscilla mentioned this one about developing leaders. And so also under that relations, just so you know what feeds the whole process, is the constant communication between our administrative team and our staff. Like I said, the coaching is there. The principal coaching is something we added new. I meet weekly with our district executive committee, is pretty much everyone up there, plus some monthly principals meetings. Principals, thank you for your patience. I enjoy the visits. I know it's got a lot to do. We'll have a monthly principals meeting with everyone. And then one of the worst things, at least when I was a principal, was when you had to hear about secondary or elementary, you're like, I've got a staff to get back to you, and I'm not a high school principal. So we break that up, and we'll have a meeting just on the secondary principals, all 2 of them. And then we'll have 3 join for the elementary. So thank you all for that. I really appreciate it. It keeps me in tune with what's going on. Number 8, community relations. Under community relations, of course, you see it there in the first bullet under growth. We can already, under the strength. I went ahead and put that in there because we had the video recordings scheduled. We got the virtual town hall scheduled as well. And really, I think for the growth long term, I don't know if you know our team's coordinator, Laura Martinez. I don't know if you do this, but she teaches ESL classes for adults at the high school, and it's her passion. And I love to hear her talk about having those English classes for adults. Long term, I didn't have this one started, so let's do it immediately unless you want to do it. But long term, those types of classes, and I think definitely, we've got our parent liaisons now, that's a big part of our program, but ensuring that our parents are comfortable with the new data management systems. I've heard good things about Skyward as far as the family portal. There's a lot of information in there and family access. And so I think some education pieces there would be good. Definitely for Skyward. Definitely for support services. I was visiting with an assistant superintendent from another district today. And they said, one of the things we've done with the vape season, vapes are the mandatory DAP. One of the things that district has done is you can reduce a little bit volunteer placement if you attend a Saturday counseling session with one of the, not the campus counselors, but with the substance abuse counselor. And so to slow that dialogue of different things, different ideas. It's not just about punishing people. And so I thought that was really neat. So we're always looking for new ideas. And again, just the involvement, really enjoyed the opportunity to present at the Educational Alliance on Career and Technical Education. Our Career and Technical Advisory team is robust. That is a great group of folks working together. A highlight for us this year, I felt, was the Business and Community Leaders Summit that we did. We did the little free advertising in the year in review. Very excited about that. And then just at the very bottom, mention some of the other organizations that I participate in. And it's absolutely wonderful. And I must say something about YMCA. YMCA was brought to us by the city. And the county judge brought it forward. He had a lot of experience in the former community that he was in with YMCA. I just see an opportunity for this whole discussion on early childhood literacy. I think we're going to be able to partner with them in some very special ways. Won't go into it, but there's going to be some great targets for opportunities. And again, I appreciate their partnership because they didn't weigh too heavy on our campuses. Our teachers, their rooms are filled, their rooms using common areas. Oh, update, we have received approval for the license. Now have they already done the walkthrough or not yet? They did the walkthrough already. Today. This stuff is hot off the press. Today. And so yeah, that's right. So great stuff. Appreciate everyone's effort. And again, I think though, Trent, I think that goes with a little bit of almost finishing each other's sentences there. So that's good stuff. Scott, thank you for facilitating that. The last slide, I promise, student performance domain just covered what I just talked about, and that is literacy. As far as literacy within the school year, there's no doubt there is tremendous growth, tremendous. But also in the area of growth under that bullet is learning loss. Learning loss is very significant in the data when we send them home for summer. And that's why you'll hear me. I'm not a big proponent of the 4-day school week. We're already experiencing learning loss. More schools better than less, in my humble opinion. But nonetheless, we are going to have to purposefully attack, and you see that we've mentioned some potential strategies. And of course, guess who would be involved there again? YMCA, and that they have the summer program. And they've already said anytime you want to work with kids, don't worry about calling the parents. Don't worry about staying here till the parent shows up. We got that. You come in, you check them out. You want to work on some literacy strategies, do that and bring them back to us. All right. And so that was quite a bit, but I say that I welcome questions would be an understatement. This is the type of stuff that is just inspiring to be a part of the team that's tackling all these things. How about specific questions or follow-ups? Please be thinking about some goals. I'm very excited about the measurables we can continue to do and come back with and say, well, how do we do? And so we'll bring you, and remember in January, we'll bring you an update. I've already kind of briefed the team a little bit that in January we'll come back and revisit the goals from last year and present on where we are and how it turned out. And you know what, there may be cases where we say, you know what, we can get it done next year. We're going to roll that goal over. It's all about transparency and honesty.
Any questions or comments? I think it's very evident of the work that has been done since even this time last year. And when we gave those goals, we were even talking still a couple months from that date of your evaluation. And with that, those conversations happen. And I think a lot of the things that we had in this conversation are happening. And so I appreciate your work and I appreciate your team's work to ensure, because we're here to ensure our students are successful for the long term. And I see the positive change, and I think the community sees the positive changes that are happening from your hard work and y'all pushing extra in this last 10 months that we've been since the time we missed it. So thank you for your work and thank you to all of y'all for your work. So I know this has not been easy, but I truly appreciate it. So I do think that in the long run, we're gonna look back and say, whoa, that was a little big mountain to climb, but man, look at the things that we have seen on the other side of it. So thank y'all for that.
This is the first time please we have something to talk about. Yeah,
I love that no matter who is talking, whether it's you or one of the principals or a teacher or whatever, you can feel the passion and the excitement. And I can just imagine like other meetings are just like, everybody's just nerding out about whatever they're talking about, you know, and just feeding off of each other. And that snowball that we talked about, you know, where we first came on, and like, that we're changing the culture and we're changing all of this stuff, where people just feel they're getting so big, you know, and it's just gonna start plowing through a lot of issues. It's gonna be really exciting to see things done.
I was even in a different district, surrounding district, in their area, in a different function, and a parent from a surrounding district said, I've noticed what has happened in Bay City ISD, and things are starting to change, and they are building things over there that are going to be amazing. And it's that people are seeing the momentum and seeing that change. So I think that is encouraging. And I just sat there thinking, yeah, people are starting to recognize what is truly happening in Bay City ISD, because we're doing a great job of talking about it and doing all of the things to make sure that we're ensuring success in our students. So, all right, anything else on that? All right, I just wanted to give a quick update. I know I was not here last month, but I went to the TASB Delegate Assembly in September to Dallas, and I wanted to be able to tell y'all what that was and really what I learned. So the Delegate Assembly is where TASB really sets their whole advocacy agenda for the following. They touch base on it and they kind of shape it for the next term, per se. And so what I learned when I walked in is really, if things happen there, but the real change starts at the grassroots meeting. So they had last year, if you recall, they had all of these meetings all over the region for trustees to come and to work together within your region to figure out what is going on in your area of the state. And so from my point of view, if we're really wanting to delve into that assembly and what that has to offer for our school district, they do have scholarships, they do have things that they offer, that starting at the grassroots portion to really have a bigger voice in the bigger picture, is where I would suggest. That meeting I looked up is on Thursday, February 22nd at the Region Service Center in Victoria from 6 to 8. If anybody is interested in going, I know TASB will be sending out more stuff as it comes along. I'm not going to bore you with all of the things that we did. We voted on a lot of things. I will send that to you in an email because there was a lot of conversation, and they kind of packaged it in a beautiful little thing, but I wanted to let y'all know that really my takeaway was, if we truly want to get involved in the advocacy portion of TASB, we need to step into the grassroots meetings. So just wanted to give y'all that quick thing. Does anyone have any questions specifically about the assembly? Dallas is a long way to go, but no. All right, moving on to items of business. The approval of the resolution electing a Matagorda County Appraisal District Board member. In your board packet, there was an official ballot. Dr. Mack, do you have anything that you want to?
No, just that as part of the process, you know, we did meet about this before, and this is part of the process to actually pass a resolution today for the recommendation, which you will find in your packet and or printed it out. It's
So it says, be it resolved that the Bay City Independent School Board of Trustees hereby elects and submits Mr. Frank Harley III to the Chief Appraiser of Matagorda County District Appraisal District for Matagorda County Appraisal District Board of Directors for a 2-year term to begin January 1st, 2024. So we just need to,
We have to approve the resolution electing a Matagorda County Appraisal Board of Directors member for the 2024-2025 term as presented.
is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, moving on to item B, approval of internet acceptability use policy.
That was pretty straightforward. It's something we have to get done annually. Dave, you want to just tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's an expanded version of our CQ local policy, which is saying that we have to protect students from inappropriate material, ensure student safety and electronic communication, prevent unauthorized access, restrict use of personally identifiable information, and educate students about cyberbullying and appropriate online behavior. And without them knowing we were doing that, you heard Ms. Mosier talk about in English class, they were talking about cybersecurity. So that was fun to hear that already mentioned when we're fixing to approve that we are doing that in classes, and they've already told you we are.
All right, are there any questions? Is there a motion to be made? For item B?
I'll make a motion to approve the internet acceptable use policy as presented. More vote.
All right, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, we have a first and second, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion passes 6-0. All right, item C, approval of Bay City ISD technology plan.
And I know that there's quite a bit of information in there, and typically on this, just in case y'all wanted to have some dialogue, we wanted to make sure this was on the consent agenda, just in case there was any major discussion. I can say from my vantage point, I really, one of the things that I admired most about this approach was David's approach to collaboration. And he was pushing it, saying, I need your responses, I need your feedback. And he was relentless in that effort. I saw it, and so thank you for your efforts there. David, are there any high points you think that you'd like to share at this time, or anything about the process you'd like to share with the board?
Yeah, I mean, it's called a technology plan, but a lot of it, I mean, technology kind of touches everything. So a lot of it dips into curriculum based and everything. So Stacey Bridge and I really worked together, and we formed a committee with every principal, every instructional coach, librarian, and then 2 or 3 teachers from every campus. And there were some training materials from TEA that they put out last year when they took the 2018 through 2023 long range plan for technology and made it the revised and extended 2018 to 2025 plan for technology. So they kind of took the state's plan from a 4-goal system to a 6-goal system with 3 focus areas under each one. And so we modified our local plan to be in line with their new plan. And kind of went through some stuff, and it was, you know, we went through, and some of the things that were there that were very specific, and you need to be very specific. But with this being a public document, and we're talking about cybersecurity, I don't want to be too specific. I don't want to say this is the antivirus we're using, because now when there's a security flaw known to that, now everybody knows, hey, they're using that one, they're successful with that. So, you know, we try to be very specific about the things we're doing without naming brands and specific products and things like that. So we still have that security level. And just making sure that we're in line with the state's plan.
Are there any questions?
Just one, you know, we've talked a lot about technology since we started the strategic plan and the goals of the 101, and I see all the servers and the high speed stuff. And then COVID hit, we realized that there was a technology gap for kids at home, 72.3% economic disadvantage, as it said in the first place. Texas just passed the broadband on that, or whatever, one of the propositions. Is any of that funding available, or are we doing anything with federal funds to try to get access to our students at home?
We have some hotspots available for students to take home as needed. All of our high school students have a Chromebook issue that they take home as needed. Every student has a Chromebook to use at school. So we do have the full 1-to-1, which is the state's goal number 2, focus area number 1. So we are in compliance with that one fully. And as students are needing to do that work at home, we have those hotspots that we send with them, so they have access to
to be able to connect. And part of that, Proposition 8 that was on the ballot that passed, was for being able to increase our bandwidth and our interconnection between our campuses here. And, without saying a whole lot, we planned ahead and we hoped that was gonna pass and follow our E-rate paperwork accordingly. And, looking forward to our bidding window closing in the next couple of weeks and seeing what the bids look like for us being able to get some expanded fiber speed between our campuses, and get that bandwidth up from what we're able to do right now and save some costs because the state taxpayers voted to fund it. So we'll take advantage of it if it's there.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to be made?
Motion to approve the BCISD technology plan as presented before.
Alright, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion? Alright, any further questions, conversation? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion passes 6-0. Alright, moving on to our consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that someone would like to take off to talk about individually? Alright, hearing none, is there a motion to be made? Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Alright, any further questions? All in favor? Aye, opposed, motion passes 6-0. Alright, we're gonna move into executive session, meeting in closed session, personal matters if necessary, may be taken into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, resignation, reassignment, duties, discipline, ratification, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including contractual recommendations for campus and district level administrators and teachers. We will convene into closed session at 8:16. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Good.
Yes. We can reconvene into open session at 8:46. There's no personnel, so is there a motion to be made to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
For a second, any further comments, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes at 8:46. We will adjourn this meeting.